Welcome to Cooking with Kenya, and I'm Kenya. Today, we're gonna make herb roasted chicken, green beans, and garlic mashed potatoes. So my name is Kenya. I'm from New Orleans. Technically, I'm from Marrero.
Cruising down the street,
Real slow, what the fellas be yelling?
Morel. Talk to me now.
I was born and raised in Marrero. I went to high school at Xavier Prep. And I was a cheerleader there. And I actually really loved it. And that's when I started cooking. I won't say I fell in love with cooking in high school because I cooked out of necessity. My mother hated to cook, and because my dad worked out of town most of the time, we had to fend for ourselves. He would come home on the weekends and they would go out to eat and we would still starve. So to avoid that, I had to cook. My brother may have cooked a couple times, but for the most part, it was me. I still remember the very first thing that I made without a recipe, something I was just throwing together. It was this pasta dish. We had some leftover pasta from something in the refrigerator, and I had some bell peppers and some onions and some sausage from some red beans I had made. So I cut all that up and I tossed it all together and put it with the pasta, and it was amazing. And I still make that today. So fast forward, my mom and I and my cousin, we had a conversation about starting an event planning company. We were talking about what everybody was going to do, who was going to be in charge of decor in front of the house. And so we said, well, somebody has to go to culinary school. So I'm in Atlanta. I'm like, I can be that somebody. So I went to Le Cordon Bleu and I fell in love with it the first day. I was so excited. I got my books, I got my uniform. Like, you know how you can't sleep before something big is about to happen? That's how I was. So I loved every day of culinary school. I learned a lot. It was really fun. I made some lifelong connections with people. So after culinary school, I graduated and I came back to New Orleans and I worked at Emerald's New Orleans, and I also worked at Superior Seafood. Those experiences taught me a lot. One of the main things it taught me is I don't want to work for anybody in their commercial kitchen. Don't get me wrong, I love commercial kitchens. I love the way they're set up. I love the restaurant work. I like the rush, but I just don't want nobody to tell me what to do. And so I want to work for myself. And so once I figured that out, I opened Divine Cuisine, which was a catering company. I did weddings, I did parties, pretty much anything you needed food for, I do it. So from there, I was a guest on the Charlie Summer Show, and I did a cooking clip. And so it was so much fun and it was so easy to do. We were like, well, you're just gonna make this a segment. And so from that clip and that segment came Cooking with Kenya. And so now we're filming a full show and I'm excited. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I'm gonna be on TV. We're back from Circle Food Store getting all the ingredients for the herb roasted chicken. We're going to start by making the herb butter. The herb butter is going to be used to crisp up the skin as well as season the chicken from the inside and the out. So we're going to take some room temperature butter and place it in a bowl. And you want to use room temperature butter because it's easier to mush because it's already mushy. You know, butter that's been in the refrigerator is hard, like it's been in the freezer, because, you know, fat turns into a solid when it's cold. So get that in, mush that around, and then we're going to take our herbs to add into the butter. Here I have a couple sprigs of thyme, some oregano, rosemary, and a couple little pieces of chives. We're going to chop all this up together and mix it into the butter, and it's going to serve as a seasoning for a flavoring for the butter as well as for the chicken. The butter helps to, like I said before, crisp up the skin. You know, fat makes everything taste better. Like when you cook red beans or something with bacon fat, it's because it has flavor in it. Fat is good. Fat is flavor. And it'll actually make the chicken skin brown and crispy. And anybody that's roasted a chicken or had a roasted chicken, you know when you get the skin, that's the best part because it's got all the good flavors on it and it's crispy. So now that we have all that together, I'm going to just rough chop these chives. And put it all together, and we're just going to run our knife back and forth to make it really, really small. We're not going to do fiend herb small, but we're going to do small. So what this does is get it all mixed in, and it helps it to break down when it's cooking because it's smaller. And you don't want to bite into a whole stem of rosemary because you ain't going to be mad. So we get this all chopped up as fine as possible. A little bit more. And then we just take that and put it right into the bowl with the butter. So to this mixture, we're going to add a pinch of salt. And I use more than a pinch of salt just now because this is unsalted butter. So you want to make sure that you season it properly. And this is the only seasoning the chicken is going to get. So you have to heavily season the butter. Pinch of salt, some pepper. And to boost this up a little bit, because you know I'm extra and I like to do everything extra, we're going to use this Alderwood smoked sea salt. It smells like something that just came off the grill. It's the smokiest salt. It has great salt content. I think it's saltier than regular salt. And because the pieces are bigger. So I'm going to use that. And oh my gosh, I wish I could smell this. It smells so good. So we're going to mix this all up. And because it's at perfect room temperature, it's easy. Look at that. Look at that. We're going to make sure we have it all worked in. And that is herb butter. Now, you could use this like steak butter, where you would take it and roll it into a log and put it in the refrigerator. You would roll it in plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and let it set. And then you could slice individual circles. If you've ever had a steak and they have butter on top in like a disc, and you wonder how they did that, how they made a pat of butter with stuff in it, like this. You make the herb butter, you scoop it onto some plastic wrap, form it into a log, roll it up, stick it in the fridge. In about 10-15 minutes, it's sliceable, and you can just stick it right on top of anything hot. Not necessarily just steak. You can do chicken, lamb, whatever you want to add an extra level of flavor to. Okay, so that's all mixed up. We're going to put that on to the side. So now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to season the chicken and show you how to truss a chicken. No, not trust, T-R-U-S-T. You don't have to have faith in your bird. Truss, T-R-U-S-S. That means tie it up so it cooks evenly. See you when we get back. So before the break, I finished the herb butter, but I forgot the lemon zest and the garlic. How did I do that? So I'm going to do that real quick right now. I have a zester or a grater, whatever you want to call it. It's a fine one. So you just grate. And you don't even need a lot because the zest is really stronger than the juice because it has the lemon oil in it. So a couple of little grates. And then, because I want the garlic to be really, really fine, I'm going to grate that as well. So I'm going to grate that right into the butter. And I'm probably going to do like 3 cloves. This is really up to you. If you like a lot of garlic, use a lot. If you don't like a lot of garlic, don't use a lot. You can actually get away with not using it at all. I prefer fresh garlic. Of course, you can do granulated garlic in this. But I find that I like to use fresh ingredients whenever possible. So if I have access to fresh garlic it is. All right, all the way down. Tap that right in there. And then we're just gonna mix this up. So now you have all the smells from the oregano and the rosemary, the smoked salt, the lemon zest, and the garlic. Man, if I had some toast, this chicken wouldn't see this butter. but I don't. So we're gonna do right. We'll put this to the side. All right, so we're gonna give the board a little cleanup. And then we are getting into the chicken. So the key to a perfectly roasted chicken is a couple tips. But let me get another board. I'm putting this board on top because I don't want to contaminate the board with my chicken. We all know chicken has salmonella in it until it's cooked. So I put something over the board, or either I switch the board out completely. Today I'm going to just put this poultry board on top of my regular board. And then we're going to get our chicken. So I also like to wear gloves when I handle chicken. Even though I'm going to wash my hands afterwards, I just feel like the least amount of contact with the chicken, the better. Although if you're comfortable with it, you can go bare hand. But today, we're using gloves. So I'm going to take my chicken, make sure all the excess liquid is off, and place it on the board. So this chicken, we took it out overnight and put it on the plate and set it in the fridge so the skin could dry out. In the culinary world, we call that letting the pellicle form. So it's going to be kind of tacky to touch. No, it didn't go bad. No, it's not spoiled. That's the way it's supposed to feel. So right now, I'm running my fingers directly under the skin, not tearing it, just separating it from the meat. So when I stuff it with the herb butter, it'll actually season the meat under the skin. So we're going to do it under the skin and on top. And that way we'll give the like I said, the flavor enough time, the seasoning enough time to get in and really flavor the bird. So just keep rubbing and be careful not to tear the skin because you want it to stay intact because it looks better. And you know me, I'm obsessed with pretty food. My food has to look good. If it doesn't look good, y'all will never see it. I think I've told somebody that before. Ugh. Okay, so we have it all separated. So we're going to turn the bird. And I'm going to actually use this fork. Get a nice little scoop right under the skin and slide it off. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side of the breast. Right under the skin and slide it off. So now you just got to press and spread it out. So now you have all that nicely seasoned butter with all the herbs and the garlic and the lemon zest under the skin, so it's directly on the breast. That fat is going to help it not to dry out, because a lot of people won't eat chicken breast because they say, oh, it's too dry. It's the driest part of the chicken. All I want is dark meat. Well, I like all of it. And if you do it this way, then you are guaranteed to have perfectly seasoned, not dry chicken breast. All right, so you can see it's all rubbed in under the skin. Make sure we get a little over here by the wing. I'm going to just use my hand this time. Stuff that in there. So once we get it under the skin, now we're going to come back and go on top of the skin. Because again, fat makes the skin crisp up. It's like frying chicken. And because we're going to put it in the oven, that dry heat is going to add to the crispiness. So just rub it all down. Give the chicken a good massage, you know. I need some batter to give me a good massage. Not with butter though. That ain't gonna work. So, okay. And you can't be too liberal because, I mean, it's the more you add, the more flavor. It's not gonna over season it. It's not gonna over salt it. Just have fun. Make sure it's perfectly coated. Make sure you get the top, the back. We're also gonna season the inside. Earlier when I was chopping herbs, I had some left. So I'm actually going to use those inside the cavity of the chicken. Flip this over. I'm going to cut that. When you buy a chicken from the store, most times they'll come with this part already cut off. Not in this case. So I'm going to cut it down a little bit, not completely off because I need something for the twine to hold on to. So we'll use that as a little handle so the kitchen twine can stay intact. So now that we have the bird completely buttered up, I'll flip. We're going to flip him back over. All right. All this butter on the board. Get back on the chicken. Okay, we're going to flip him over. And then we're going to take the herbs that I mentioned earlier that I had left over. Sprinkle them down in the cavity. And again, that's because we want all the seasoning to be completely through and through. People often get intimidated by whole cuts of meat, like roasting a chicken, or even for Thanksgiving. everybody's like, well, who cooking the turkey? Because I'm not eating it if she cook it, because it's going to be dry. So it's always something that you worry about, making sure it's seasoned properly and making sure it tastes good, right? Because, I mean, it can be as pretty as ever, but if it don't taste like nothing, ain't nobody going to eat it. So the key to making sure every piece of meat is seasoned properly, you got to do inside and out. So I feel like this little board, I feel like we have properly seasoned this chicken and we are ready to truss. So we're going to truss the chicken, and basically what trussing a chicken does is make sure that it cooks evenly. So this is called butcher twine. They sell it at local grocery stores. But you could also do is if you go to a butcher shop, you can just ask them for some. And some people will cut you some extra pieces, and then you can just throw it in your bag and you can go home instead of buying this big old spool. Because I mean, how often are you going to truss something? So you take the twine, you go under the legs. We're going to wrap it because this one is kind of slippery because it's so buttery. We're going to tie him up for real. So we pull those tight. Then you drop this between the thighs. Come back under the wings. And we're going to tie a knot right here. And I'll turn it around so you can see it. So if you can see right here, there's a knot tied right there. And if you can see, the chicken is now in a uniform position. So everything is in tight, so it'll cook all together. White meat and dark meat typically cooks at different times. Like it takes much longer to cook white meat than it does dark meat. But by the time we do that, then it'll be dried out. So if you put it all together, tie it up really tight in a nice little football type shape, it'll all cook evenly and you won't have dry chicken. So that is the point of trussing. This bird is ready for the oven. So now we're going to put the chicken into the oven. I have the oven preheated to 400 degrees. And that's so we can crisp the chicken skin first. So we're going to put it in the oven at 400 for 10 to 15 minutes just so we can get that brown golden texture that we want. And then after that, we'll drop it down to 350 so it can cook on the inside. While the chicken is roasting, we're going to work on the potatoes and the green beans. We're going to start with this Yukon Gold potato. I prefer Yukon Golds to Idahos or Russets because the flesh is it's much smoother and it's already got a buttery texture to it. So when you mash them, they're not grainy. If you've ever mashed a baked potato, then you have that texture. This is not like that. So we're going to peel these, and it's really nothing fancy to it. It's peeling a potato. So I'm sure y'all don't want to watch me do that. So we're going to fast forward.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, beans, greens, beans, 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 beans.
Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to cut the potatoes so they can cook evenly. I don't have a specific cut that I like over any other one. Some people will say you got to cut them in perfect triangles or rectangles. And my thing is, as long as they're the same size, they're going to cook the same way. So bigger ones, I like to cut like this. And then I like to take them and drop them directly into what I'm cooking them in. Because one, I hate washing dishes and I don't have a dishwasher. Like a person that washes dishes like in a restaurant. And two, it just eliminates steps. So cut them up. Drop them in. All right. And then once you get them all in, you want to season the water really, really heavily. If you've ever boiled seafood or boiled anything actually in just plain water, you know that whatever you put in plain water is going to taste like plain water. So to avoid that, we have to season it really heavily. And by season right now, I just mean salt. So when I'm done with this, we're going to take a hefty handful of salt, sprinkle it in to make sure the water is, as I used to be told, as salty as the ocean. I've never tasted ocean water, so I can't really say if that's true or not, but it's got to be really salty. And because we're making garlic mashed potatoes, I'm going to smash a garlic clove as well and drop it in the pot. Some people like to roast their garlic. Some people prefer to mix it in after it's cooked. I feel like if we're seasoning the water, let's season the water. So we're going to put garlic and salt right in there. And then we do the fun part, the fat, all the good butter and cream. And what is mashed potatoes without butter? So we're going to add in some smashed garlic, and I say smash because that's exactly what we're going to do. You take the side of your knife and put it right on top of the garlic, take the palm of your hand and smash. And this way, when you flip it over, it's all broken up, and it takes a lot less time if you're going to mince garlic if you do this step first. So, and it's fun too. Put it there and smash. And people say, how do you like to cook all day? It's so not fun. Like, I just want it to be over. What? This is the best part. You get to smash stuff. All right, so we got 3 good cloves. We're going to add that to the potatoes. A nice good pinch of salt. And it's ready for the stove. You always want to start your potatoes in cold water so that the water and the potatoes can come up at the same time so they're not overly cooked. That makes sense, right? We're going to mash them all up, kind of get rid of all the big chunks, and a little bit of cream, and the cream makes it a lot easier when you're mashing them. Throw in a knob of cold butter. Ooh, this smells so good, the garlic and the butter. These are going to be some good potatoes. All right, we are sufficiently mashed. So we're going to move to a spoon to really work them. I think these are the perfect consistency. Now we need to check for taste, make sure they're seasoned properly. Here we go. That's really good. All right, and these are your garlic mashed potatoes. So the last part of this meal are the green beans. Very easy. I always like to start with fresh green beans. If I can't find them fresh, see how fresh that is? Fresh in the store, then I'll buy them, the ones that are fresh frozen. They come in the frozen food section. They look like this, a full green bean with the stem still on it. So we can't cook them like this. We have to clean them. And anybody that's had smothered green beans with sausage, most people, my grandmother included, started out with the fresh beans. So if you were lucky, you were outside playing. But if she caught you while she was cleaning beans, you were in there cleaning them with her. So back then, of course, they wasn't giving you the knife, so you had to just break them off, which is probably why, because they snap, probably why they call them snap beans. But we're not about to do that. So you get a bunch and you put all the stems going the same direction, right? Then you just take your knife and cut all the tops off. So once the green beans are clean, we're going to put them in a pot of boiling water to blanch them. What blanching means is you par cook them. It does 2 things. It helps to soften them up a little bit, so when you cook them or saute them, you don't have to keep them in the pan forever and they turn this ugly army green color. Also, when you blanch them, it sets the bright green color. So right now they're kind of flat and dull. Once you shock them, they're going to be a bright, vibrant green, and then you can saute them and they'll be really pretty on the plate, and they're going to taste good too. So let's boil some water. So from this boiling water, we're going to take them and drop them in this ice bath, which is ice and water and a little salt, because you want to make sure we don't wash the salt off that just cooked into them. So we're going to drop them into the ice bath, and this is called shocking, meaning it's going to stop the cooking process, chill it down, and set the bright green color. So after you blanch the green beans, they're gonna look like this. Now, you can't really tell the difference now, but this is one that hasn't been blanched and this is one that has. See the difference in color? This one is a brighter green and this one is still that ashy, blah green. This is what you're going for. So now that they've been blanched, we're gonna saute them and then we can eat them. All right, move it around. Straight to that, we're gonna add a handful of green beans. A little salt, a little pepper. Move it around. Because they're already cooked, we just wanted to get a chance to get it coated in butter. Make sure the salt and pepper is evenly dispersed throughout. Oh, lost one. But long enough to warm them through because they are cold and sitting in ice water, but they literally take maybe a minute. You don't want to cook them too long because that beautiful color you just set will turn into a gross, ugly green again. And just like that, green beans are done. It's time to plate. You got to eat that chicken. And there you have it. Herb roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and sauteed green beans. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm about to get to work. See y'all next time.